Okay, so on we go. We've just brought in the kick drum from a Groove Agent sample within Cubase. We're going to do something very similar with the hi-hat. So right click in this space here, add instrument track, as we did before. And again, we're going to use Groove Agent. Again, I can go a little bit quicker now because I've already explained how we do these things in the first couple of lessons. And I'm going to choose a hi-hat, and again, I didn't want you to sit through me auditioning lots of samples, so I'm just going to, I know where I'm going, or rather which samples I want to use. Techno Kit 1. I think we used that one there on A#1. So this time we're going to get the sample into our arrangement window in a slightly different method. Last lesson we recorded it in live with our MIDI keyboard, and then we quantized the notes to bring them in time. This time we're just going to draw in the MIDI notes. So let me show you how to do that. You can right click here to get all your tools up, and then just use the draw tool, and we're going to draw in a 2-bar loop, which is like a blank MIDI window, and when you double click on it you get the key editor come up, and all your samples will be here on the allocated notes. So there's your kick, etc. And these obviously correspond. Let's just bring up Groove Agent again by hitting this edit instrument button, and these correspond with these pads here: C1 kick, C#1 snare. So C1 kick, C#1 snare. So then all we've got to do is find our pad that we wanted, which was on A sharp, I believe. So C, D, E, F, G, A sharp, and we just literally just draw in MIDI notes like so. Right click again, draw. Now these are not going to be in the right place, but I'm just showing you at the moment how to draw them in. So we'll just put in 4 there. We haven't got to adjust the velocities because we're drawing them in manually. It'll automatically set the velocities for you. If you just highlight all of them, hold down Alt, and make sure you've got the kind of scissor tool up, even though we're not going to be splitting it. If you hold down Alt, you can actually copy that selection across to save you doing all 8 of them. Now obviously this is not going to be in the right time, but I'm just going to show you what it sounds like. So we've got the hi-hat at the same time as the kick, which is obviously not what we want. We want the hi-hat to be off beat. So let's just see what this sounds like. Okay, it's all a little bit harsh sounding, but we've got the timing right. That's the main thing. So there's another way of getting MIDI into your arrangement window. Incidentally, I've just spotted a bit of housekeeping we can do. At the moment everything is called Groove Agent, which doesn't help us at all when we come to mixing this down. In fact, let's have a quick look at the mixer now. So F3, let's just get rid of the transport control for now. So this is the mixer window, which will become a lot busier as the track goes on. Obviously we've only got 2 tracks at the moment, but as you can see it says Groove Agent 1, Groove Agent 2. I don't know what's on what. So what we're going to do is just come in and rename these. So we know this is kick, so double click on that. Kick. Now rather than press return, I'm going to show you a little trick. If you press shift and return, then this part within the window will get named as well. If you don't do that, then only the track will be named and the part will still say Groove Agent. So shift return, and there we have the track has been named kick and the part has been named kick. So we'll do the same for this one. Hi-hat, space in there. Shift, return, there we go. So now we know what we're doing, and when we want to adjust the levels, we can see what we're doing, obviously, because the names are here. Okay, so this hat is okay, but it could be better. Let's just have a little look at the graphical representation. Let's just solo it. As you'd expect, there's a lot of high end on this one, conversely to the kick, which had a lot of low end. But you'll notice there is also some frequencies down here, although we can't really hear them. They could be affecting the kick, or perhaps other things in the mix. Once we've got 20 or so tracks running, if you don't tidy up your samples, then you're going to have a whole load of problems later on. Because if you've got every single sample with all this low end frequency that you can't really hear, that's when you get problems, because it affects other frequencies in the mix. So, as we did before, just bring in the low cut and literally take off. Listen with your ears. You can hear it's starting to affect the sound now, and we don't want that. It's getting thinner and thinner and thinner. And again, we can right click that and just change the slope slightly. So you don't want to take out too much of that low, but obviously there needs to be a balance. Probably somewhere around roll off, starting at 500 but becoming more apparent, or more dramatic roll off towards 200. We'll just free up that low end for later on once we're mixing. Let's give this a slight boost on the top as well with a high shelf, which is number 4. That will just help it sit above the mix later on. We can adjust that later on if we need to, but I know from experience that you generally, well, I tend to boost the top end of a hi-hat like that. Not every single time, of course, but yeah, it pretty much helps it stand out more. Let's have a listen in context. Always important to listen with other elements in the track. We've only got a kick at the moment, but let's still have a listen. You can also adjust the volume here without going into the mixer each time. So the hat is still a little bit loud. Okay, it's about the right volume, but it's not got much punch to it. It's an okay hat, but there's not a lot of punch to it, as I said. So there's a fantastic function in Cubase 8.5, perhaps 8 as well, I think, called the envelope shaper. Now we're going to go to the edit settings, and we're going to make this without having to go and find another sample, which is what you'd normally do if you want something a bit more punchier. We're just going to use the envelope shaper, if I can remember where it is. Dynamics, yes, under envelope shaper. And this allows us to change the attack and release of a sample or anything that you play through it. It's really, really clever. You'll hear what I mean. If I just increase this attack, you'll start to hear the percussive element of the hat come out, and it's just going to punch through the mix a lot better. Can you hear that? Before, a bit flat and boring, or very percussive, a big attack. Maybe that's even too much. Remember the importance of bypassing, because otherwise your ears get used to what you're doing and it could sound pants basically. So you have to always bypass. So before, after. That's about right. I want a touch more release on this as well. Another very important thing is that because I'm adding a bit more attack volume, I need to bring down the output so it's the same as it was before. Otherwise, quite often people think something is louder, they think it's better, but it's not always the case. So if you make sure the before and after of whatever it is you're doing is the same volume, you can then concentrate on whether what you're doing is actually having a positive or a negative effect. So balance out the volumes. Yes. So the volumes are the same now, so my brain is not getting confused with the fact that it's louder and therefore better. So now I can actually listen to the technique. Okay, something like that will do for the moment. I like the way it's more, it's got a lot more bite to it, thanks to the fantastic envelope shaper which comes built in. We also need to add a touch of reverb to this. I'm just going to use the most basic Roomworks just to prove that we don't need to use any fancy reverbs. Let's just use I quite like the bright plate reverb. I like bright reverbs, generally speaking. Turn the mix down, obviously it's way too much. Turn the pre-delay down. And this is where I always take off the low end of the reverb. I'm just going to use something a bit slightly better than this. Roomworks, just the Roomworks one. You get a few more controls. Take off the lows, always take off the lows. Again, that's to do with the muddiness of the mix. Well, let's just choose plate bright again, take down the pre-delay. You can see the lows have already been taken off of the reverb. I only want a very slight mix on this. So you could hear a few more of the lower reflections coming in once I was adjusting these low parameters here. So yeah, really minimal. We've only got 6% on the mix. Just do a before and after, as you know how important that is. So before, after. Actually a bit too much reverb time as well. Okay, that'll do for now. So what we've done here was just brought in a hi-hat via Groove Agent again, but we've done it a different method. We've programmed in the MIDI this time, and I've just shown you how to, the importance rather, of EQing each sample as you go. Otherwise you end up with a really muddy mix. And this is just all good practice for you to learn in your future mixes. And next lesson we'll bring in a clap Now I know from having a little look around the claps that there weren't really any claps that I liked, so we're going to be combining 2 or 3 claps together to make one awesome fat clap. Okay, see you next time.